Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mindful Momentum podcast. I am your host, Robin Todd, and I'm so excited today to be interviewing Jenna Johnson. Jenna and I recently met, and I'm just inspired by the work that she is doing. Where our topic is mental health in the construction industry, and so it's going to be a little different angle since we're going to be talking about women, and not necessarily different because women are on the job site in the construction industry, but it is a predominantly male industry, which has its challenges for those women, and we'll be talking more about that. But we're so glad you're here. Let me tell you a little bit about Jenna. She is the executive director of Heartland Women in Trades. In her role, Jenna leads efforts to recruit, retain, and advance women in the skilled construction trades. Drawing on her background with the U.S. Department of Labor Women's Bureau, has been a strong advocate for gender equity, engaging stakeholders on policy issues, building coalitions to address systemic barriers, and providing direct support to women in the field. Her commitment centered on expanding opportunities and creating lasting change that empowers more women to build successful careers in non-traditional occupations. Outside of her professional work, Jenna enjoys exploring Kansas City's food scene. Who doesn't? Traveling, spending time with her family, friends, and pets. She's passionate about reading, community events, and creative outlets like quilting and baking. Interesting. What have you done any fall baking? I feel like fall's such a great time to be baking.
Oh, absolutely. I have been on a pumpkin spree. I know we're only in September when we're recording this, but I started way early. So actually just this past week I did a pumpkin cinnamon roll,
Ooh.
which was a little different. It was really yummy though. So yes, I've already gotten an early start on all the fall baking.
Yes, and pumpkin, I don't know. I love pumpkin. Pumpkin anything is just
Absolutely.
so good. Yes. So that's so fun. Well, awesome. Well, welcome and thank you again for taking time out to visit with me and our listeners so that we can kind of learn more about the Heartland Women in Trades and how you all are addressing mental health. So let's just jump right in. And I think it would be interesting for us to learn what unique mental health challenges do women in the trades face, and how is Heartland helping to move that conversation forward?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about, of course, what Heartland Women in Trades is doing to combat some of these important issues surrounding mental health, but also just to, talk about all things mental health related in general, because it is such an important subject. First, I will say, there are a lot of unique challenges that women face in the skilled construction trades specifically. And really, I mean, first off, there's a lot of isolation that we hear our ladies talk about. On a national level, the data shows that only about 4% of the skilled construction trades are women. So, you think about every 100 construction workers, that's four. In the Kansas City metro area, it's even worse. It's actually about 2%. So we even have a much larger or much longer ways to go in terms of representation in this field. So yeah, so a lot of our ladies, when they go to work every day, they might not see another lady at the job site. And that's,
So, so
you
you're
know,
talking about isolation as in they're on a job site with a lot of people, but there aren't other women, as opposed to like the lone worker, because there are industries where you're a lone worker and there's isolation there. So you're talking about as women on the job
yeah.
site.
Yes, exactly. Yes, a lot of isolation in terms of seeing other people who look like you, who are experience similar things to you. There are roles, like some of our operating engineers and such that do, that do work in a little bit of isolation physically in terms of, they're stuck in a cab all day. They don't have opportunities, but I'm more talking about sort of the emotional, social isolation of being away from groups of people who have similar experiences, perspectives to you in the workplace.
Gotcha.
And especially there is, we do see a lot of even, whether whether it's what's the word I'm looking for, purposeful or not purposeful, there is a lot of exclusion that women face as well, not being invited to eat lunch with your colleagues. A lot of men, just I think that just can be a natural tendency where people want to group with like-minded individuals or
Sure.
similar people. So we do see a lot of that.
Yeah. And
And that,
actually our
oh, go ahead.
brain is designed for that. Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah.
I teach some classes on inclusivity and biases, and we all naturally lean in and gravitate to people who are more like us, so
Really? That's
yeah, it's like built in our brain. And so it's such a great awareness because when I started noticing, when I learned that, it's like I started noticing, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so true. But with awareness, then it's like, okay, I'm going to lean into find some people who are different than me because then I can, learn and grow and all of those things. But it is our natural tendency. And so you can see why that would happen very easily and readily on the job site.
Oh, absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense. It feels like to me, coming from but not having all that information and psychology behind that like you do, but yeah, you want to joke around, you want to feel comfortable when you're in these spaces. So it definitely makes a lot of sense. And
But it still produces exclusivity if you're not aware, right? And it
exactly.
and those biases then can turn into job sites that aren't building a culture of inclusivity, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Or even when you think about in terms of when you have that unconscious bias, like in terms of getting women into leadership roles in this, I mean, that's a huge problem also for women getting in this field is there's not, women are just far less likely to see that upward trajectory in their careers because, they're not being included in these social circles or maybe not the people that are coming top of mind when you're thinking of, who's going to be put, who would be a great leader as a foreman or, coming off the job site into the office as a supervisor. And they don't have these opportunities like, or they don't always, I should say, not never, but they don't always have the opportunities to get invited to the social gatherings. You think a lot about how building relationships with people at work are also in the sort of out of work experiences that can partake, getting happy hour, after you finish a long day, those sorts of things. Women typically aren't having those opportunities presented to them as well in this field.
Yeah.
And all of that is just coupled with the stress of, having to prove yourself. A lot of women for decades have basically been told, oh, this is too laborious for you. You're not physically equipped, or even sometimes, mentally equipped to do this hard work, which we know is not true. There's all kinds of technology now that can assist if it's a heavy lifting situation or what have you. So dealing with that sort of bias and then balancing work and family life. Something that's interesting in Missouri is that we actually have a limit on the number of hours you could have your young children in childcare. 10 hours. A lot of individuals in the construction industry work 12-hour shifts.
Oh,
So the added
interesting.
stress of managing your family life, how your children are going to and from daycare, to and from school,
Mm.
not being able to just drop them off, or even these facilities not working normal hours is just all compounding on some of the stress that, typically women, I mean, I want to say all families face this, but we know that that mental load usually falls on women. So
Yes,
these are all things that sort of cycle and can really impact the mental health of our women in the trades.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's very interesting just to hear, just to think about all that, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense of why it's been a struggle getting women into these trades. Um,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And even when you think about too that the construction industry, there it's very different from your typical, the white collar jobs. What I think of, having paid sick leave, having paid maternity or parental leave,
right.
that's something that most skilled trades workers, especially those who are in the union. And I'm kind of talking more from the union specific side here, but really we see it across the industry. But when you're a skilled trades person and you're kind of bouncing from job site to job site, potentially contractor to contractor as work ebbs and flows, because we know that this industry also has the stress, which is not just for women, but just for all skilled tradespeople in general. Of it's, there's a lot of there's a
Uncertainty.
uncertainty. Yeah,
Yeah.
as jobs end, you're really working to put yourself out of a job because once you know a project completes, hopefully your contractor has another project to put you on. But sometimes what happens is there is no more work to put you on, and so you become laid off, unemployed until you can get your next gig. So
Right.
um
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
so it's
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you hear my dogs?
no, I did not.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. So the second piece of that was, how are you moving that conversation at women at the Heartland?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So we're doing a number of things. I mean, we know that this issue is so important. I mean, we have surveyed our membership specifically at Heartland Women Trades. For those that don't know, we have a membership of tradeswomen who join to get connected to resources and other tradeswomen, building that community.
How many women are associated?
So we currently, so we have a number of different memberships,
Oh,
but overall we service about 100 women across the metro area and are always growing and welcoming more in. So if you're interested, let me know. But but we're really helping to push that needle. One thing that we've seen in our research and what we've heard from tradeswomen is having mentors, other women who, if you're not seeing someone on the field, at least having another tradeswoman you're connected to who's checking in with you, helping you, just kind of, especially when you're newer, navigate the field and figure out how to deal with some of the unique situations that arise. So we have mentorships that we facilitate, both group and individual. We also create just community experiences. We have our membership meetings where we get together, we discuss some of the things that the ladies are experiencing, networking opportunities. We also host workshops on a variety of topics, but also including, wellness and mental health.
mhm.
We're actually working on currently putting together a training toolkit around it includes mental health, but also about navigating bias and harassment on the work site, how to sort of, what's the word I'm trying to say? Kind of mitigate or try to, respond when you're experiencing some of those things. So helping the ladies not only be prepared, but also how to take care of their, emotional and mental well-being when they're dealing with some of these things. And that's again, in conjunction with a large number of other trainings we're hoping to include in this toolkit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we of course just
Great.
make sure that this is something that we're constantly talking about in the work that we're doing. It's something that should always be part of the conversation when we're thinking of, barriers that not only women, but really everybody in the construction industry is facing, with these roles that they have. So yeah, that's kind of a little
Oh
snippet.
my goodness. That's awesome. I love the mentorship aspect. I mean, it's all good. The toolkit, just being able to connect with women, but the mentorship, whether it's groups or individuals, I think, is so probably so valuable in the sense that walking with somebody who's walked this path before, who has that wisdom, those lived experiences that can help those younger women, just navigate, whether it's emotional or physical or mental or any of that. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think, we're all built for connection, but I think as women, we are naturally even more so needing that connection. And so, yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Is that part of, is you have to sign up for that separate, or is that just automatically like once you become a member, you get a
Yeah.
mentor?
Yeah, so it's something, and we're still kind of we're in a big transition right now. So we're even right now looking at changing some of the things a little bit, but
Mhm.
it's automatic. I mean, once you come in, we do group mentor, we facilitate that. And then if you want to go a step further, and this is the piece that we're really hoping to train or to change, is it's kind of been more of a natural, like once you come to our meetings and you're joining, you kind of find a natural fit for mentors. But we're hoping to start making this more of an automatic connection of once you're in, you can choose to sign up. If you are someone who's been in for a while, you can, specifically sign up for our program saying, I want to be a mentor, and then vice versa. If you're a new lady coming in our program, we can, then from the get-go get you connected to a someone who's been in the industry for a while.
Yeah.
And I just think there's a lot of, kind of going on what you said, like I think there's a lot of peace that comes with the validation of knowing that you're not the only one experiencing
Yes.
something. And even if
Absolutely.
you can't, like, even if we can't solve all of the problems for you, just knowing that there's others like you who have gone through it and are there to support you can really make the difference.
Yeah. Well, and I think I shared with you when we talked before we scheduled this. I was, and this is one reason that I really wanted to interview you as well. I was doing a training, and a young woman came up to me, and she was really in tears, just sharing how difficult it was to work in a trailer with all men, and she didn't feel like she could really share if she was having a bad day or any kind of emotion, because she was fearful of like what they would say and how they would judge her. And it just brought a whole new perspective for me of just the challenges that women do face, and that there's just much work to be done. And we're not saying, and I'm not making a statement that that's on every job site, but and sometimes you're right. I think you said either it's perceived, or and maybe it's nobody was even going to do that. But as women, sometimes we can fear that, and we don't want to look too soft or be called, like, you can't take this job, you've got to toughen up, you got to have tougher skin, those kinds of things, and not just be your authentic self, right? Because that's what we all need to do to be successful and to be feel like we're in the place where we're supposed to be, is to be able to be our authentic self. And I was just that was just an example for me that really, yeah, just pulled
Yeah.
my heartstrings a little bit, honestly.
And I think that's a great story. And it also kind of points to something I left out about another piece that we're trying to do with the work at Heartland Women in Trades is shifting workplace culture. The idea of not being able to bring your authentic self into the workplace is so widely prevalent. I mean, there's just this idea that you've got to toughen up, you've got to get a thick skin. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, inappropriate unprofessionalism that we know still not everywhere, but that we know pretty widely still exists on job sites.
Mhm.
And there's unfortunately not always a great workplace culture or system to address some of those things. So a lot of ladies, there's a lot of things that they just have to let slide under the rug, or that they have to show up to work differently so they don't get picked on for certain things about
Yeah.
themselves. And so that's something else that we're really trying to work on, especially with leadership in the unions and, like, with contractors, is it comes top down to set the standard, and to set the policies to have a zero tolerance policy for bullying and harassment, which, by the way, doesn't even just impact women, it really impacts everybody. um,
Absolutely.
so so yeah,
Yes.
I just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we at Mindful Momentum are working on that too, the more male side of it too, because for them to start speaking up, and just sharing some of their own struggles, because we know it's not just us women who struggle, it's lots of men. And you and I just visited briefly, before we started, about the loss that happened, just last week here in
Mhm.
Kansas City, which is just tragic. I didn't even know him. I've heard amazing things about him, but it just really reinstills, I think, all of us who are working in this space, that there's just so much work to be done, because every life that's lost is just one too many. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's very tragic. And he was such a pillar. Like I think I told you, I mean, everybody, I didn't know him well myself, but everybody who met him has only had absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful things to say about him. And even, just working in this industry, I knew what a strong sort of beam of light he was for many. And so it's really hard. It's hard when anyone, passes away from their struggles with mental health. But it's, I think, even more eye-opening when those who are leaders in the community and live so large, and there's no signs, as far as anyone sees. So, it just again reiterates how important these conversations are.
Absolutely. And this is one thing, this is why we have to keep having conversations, because I what I see in some organizations is that, there's a tragedy and it's like, "Oh, we need to address this," and then life starts to go back on autopilot and,
Yeah.
goes back to normal, and then but it's like there's, if we don't keep we have to keep, pushing that limit and keep stretching and keep taking those small baby steps forward, because there'll be the next one and the next, right?
Yeah.
If we kind of sit back and so I'm always encouraging people and organizations to continue this conversation, which is why we have our podcast and why I'm talking to you. So thank you so much. I love the toolkit I did too, because I feel like I've heard that from a couple of other organizations, and I just think it's a great resource, whether it's online or little things that people, I'm guessing it's online. Like, is it going to be on your website?
So it's something that actually we're going to be doing in-person facilitation
Oh,
on. So
oh,
we
nice.
have been kind of working with a few. We're still working out the kinks. We want to make sure we get it right. We've been doing the research and collaborating with a few different organizations that already offer similar services. So the one that we're most closely looking at is called Rise Up. It was actually created by an organization called Anew, based out on the West Coast, I believe in Seattle or yeah, I might be wrong. Don't quote me
That's
on
okay.
that.
Okay, somewhere out
But
there.
Anew. But we actually Chicago Women in Trades, who we recently just completed a grant with them, which was hugely impactful for our capacity as an organization. But they actually are trainers of this program, have had great success. And so they have actually been working with us for us to also become trainers. But with that, as we've been going through this process and kind of vetting this training program, we've been engaging it with a number of our community partners, helping us to see if this is something that they feel like would be beneficial for their own organizations and their unions or whomever. But also, we have been working with some mental health professionals too, to add in more specific language around the mental health aspect of wellness and how to deal with, again, like if you are experiencing harassment or bullying on the job sites, and also too information about how substance abuse and addiction can play into some of this as well. So those are just a few things that we felt like we needed more emphasis on, in addition to what the training already was offering. So we are hoping to, of course, adopt this program perhaps ourselves, but then also add on to it with some content that we're developing with some of our other partners too.
Yeah,
So
I love
I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be helpful. And then that way, in addition just to offering this to, companies or other organizations that would like us to come and do this training, we're hoping to also have sort of a situational response as well. So if there are specific reports or things like that that come up, we're hoping to be able to use some of this to,
it.
to do on the spot trainings and conversations as they arise, because we know that this is an ongoing, as we said, ongoing conversation and ongoing training.
Yeah.
Um, in addition to, what we tend to think of, which is like a yearly training that companies might have us take on some of these topics. So So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that's really just utilizing I mean, as women, one of our strengths is typically communicating. And to be able to be trained to address those situational responses that come up in a way that's meaningful and productive instead of just you know, moving on or because when the conversation gets hard, that's what happens. People get uncomfortable and it's like, I don't know what to say, I'm just not going to say anything. And then it's not the thing that we need to be doing. We need to be
Yeah.
talking about it.
And I think it's important. So actually, this past weekend was the Tradeswomen Build Nations conference, and I had the pleasure of attending, as well as we also sent about 10 other ladies to go to this conference in Chicago. And I actually joined one of their workshops on mental health while I was there. And something that I think is really interesting, a little factoid that they shared is in a nationwide survey that one of these organizations conducted, they found that over 80% of tradespeople, so both men and women, found that the current trainings that they are being provided by their organizations, their companies, their unions are inadequate and are not beneficial to them. Like they feel like they're not actually getting enough engagement or information on how to not only, of course, we all know, don't harass people, don't bully people, don't,
Yeah.
don't do
Yeah.
these things. But again, like it's missing these critical points of like, how do I, bystander intervention? Like, how do I, if I see it happening, how do I address it? Or how do I deal with it myself? So that's something we're really trying to be mindful of. That's kind of why we're
Yeah.
doing this. Is we know that there's all of these trainings that exist already, but we want to be a part of something that we feel like is really going to move the needle and really give people the info and tools that they need to succeed.
Yeah. Well, and that's the $1 million question, right? Is how do we get all of these
Exactly.
people to feel and I mean, I talk with organizations every day and it's like how do we get that into the hands of people so that it isn't
Yeah.
80% feel that they aren't ready to address situations. Yeah, I mean and of course, that's what I love about what we do is trying to be proactive because when you talk about, bullying, addressing the root cause of bullying of like how do I empower myself? Maybe I'm the bully and you know what I mean? And so how do I start noticing and building an awareness of like maybe I am doing things that is being perceived as bullying when I
Absolutely.
was that's just my way of like, connecting with people, and it's just interesting.
Yeah, and that's why this is so hard, right? Like it's not just, and that's why it's taking us, I mean, it's literally, we've been working on this for like a year, trying to get this right, trying to get all the, because it's not just about like the act, right? There's a lot of psychology behind it, or there's also, like you said, there's the self-reflection piece, there's the emotional maturity development that might need to happen with some of these individuals, and then there's also just communication. Some things, people are different, people communicate in different ways, and what might, to your point, seem like, oh, I'm just being direct or straightforward, might be, come across as bullying or micromanaging or whatever it might be to someone else. And so that's why it's,
I know.
it's got to be, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it
hard. There's a
is.
lot.
It's hard work. Well, and I mean, I just have to put a plug in for mindfulness because honestly, that's what the beauty of and this is why I do what I do is because it's the foundation of everything, right? If I can be present with another person and be without judgment, that's the piece that can be difficult, then it changes everything. It changes
Yeah.
conversations, it changes how we respond, how we react, how we work, all of it. And so, but we have a lot of work to do until we can build that foundation in everyone's lives. But yeah, it again re-inspires me of the importance of that. So yeah, awesome. Oh my goodness, so many good things. I love that you got to go to the national convention. Yeah, the
Yes.
conference. That's so fun. And just for also, I feel like anytime you can do something nationally, it's like you don't feel alone and isolated with just being here in Kansas City. Like, what are other, and I'm a proponent of collaboration. You know, there's any teacher, which is what I am by trade, you know, you don't reinvent the wheel, right? If other people are doing some great things, how can we take that and tweak it and change it and make it work for us or adapt it? And also, I loved what you said about making things just not one dimension. There's not one fix for all of this, right? So the
Yeah.
program you're looking to adopt, I'm sure it's amazing, but it might not meet everyone's needs or address everything. And so really bringing in all those other elements to complement to really make it robust and have depth. So kudos to you for recognizing that because it takes hard work. It takes time and intention,
Mhm.
and a lot of hard work. So yeah, wow.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's great not to reinvent the wheel, and it's good to hear from other partners. And also to add to that too is, we're fortunate that we are connected with so many other tradeswomen organizations or affiliated organizations that are doing this work, and we can take what they're doing, bring it here and kind of make it our own. Because we also, you got to think about the geographic regional differences too. Here in Kansas City, I think there's a lot that does work across the board, but also keeping in mind that our city, the people who live here are also a little bit different from our friends on the west or the east coast or what have you. So
Sure.
it's all part of the process um on
Yeah.
getting something that works for us together.
Yeah. And Jenna, I meant to ask in the very beginning and I forgot. What makes you passionate about this work?
Yeah.
How'd you kind of land here? Like, I mean, you probably weren't 10 and said, when I grow up, you know, this is what I want to do. Or maybe you did. I don't know. But how did you get here? I always think that the curvy road to get where we are is always interesting.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride, let's say. So I'll try to summarize this as briefly as I can, but I actually went to school, like in my undergrad was in international business, right? Like I initially grew up, or I guess not grew up. When I grew up, I was in love with American Idol and I wanted to be a singer, right? But
Ah, yes.
but when
Yes.
I finally got older and I went to college, I thought I was going to work with businesses, or my dad's an entrepreneur. But I thought I was going to work internationally, I don't really know. I just knew like this sounds fun. I want to be a business owner or whatever. But I ended up actually, right after I graduated college, I joined the US Peace Corps in Senegal, and I
Oh,
served as a community economic development volunteer in Louga, which is a city a few hours outside of Dakar, which is the capital of Senegal. And in that work, primarily what I did, I mean, there's a lot of things I did, but primarily was helping women start their own small businesses and
wow.
help them learn financial literacy, because in that culture, typically it's the men who are working and it's the men who control the finances. And a lot of women find themselves in kind of precarious positions when their husband dies or some other male figure in their family passes that's controlling their money, and it puts a lot of women in it can put a lot of women into some bad situations. So I just really fell in love with helping women find economic independence through that role. And then afterwards, I came back,
Is
came
that
back
was
to
that a year? Is that
uh,
typically like a
two
year?
years,
Oh,
2 years.
2 years.
I didn't
Wow.
quite make it the full 2 years. Unfortunately, I got a little sick while I was there, so I didn't quite finish my service. I got sent home a little early. I'm totally fine now,
Oh, good.
but so the typically service is about 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I almost got there, but not quite. But so I came back and went and started looking for work in Wichita. I did some nonprofit development work, worked with Kansas Big Brothers Big Sisters and then the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And I really enjoyed working that. But I kept remembering, like, oh man, I really loved working with women, helping them gain employment, start their businesses. So I ended up going back to school and decided to get a master's degree in public policy and human rights, with my thesis being focused on labor issues for women and children in Western Africa. Um,
Wow.
Thinking again that I was maybe going to do something with an international focus, but really at the core of it was just wanting to help women and children.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting accepted into the United States Presidential Management Program, which, for those that don't know, it's a program that the US government started that basically the whole purpose of it is to get recent graduates of master's and PhD programs into careers within the federal government with the hopes that they would become
Hmm.
federal leaders.
Wow.
And then that's how, and during that, so that was kind of a long process. During that, I ended up accepting a role as the cash assistance coordinator for Denver's International Rescue Committee, where during that time was the removal of, or the callback of American soldiers in Afghanistan. And we were seeing unprecedented levels of refugees coming from Afghanistan into the United States. So during that, I also got to help a lot of families, resettle in the Denver, Colorado area, help them manage their finances, learn financial literacy again, help them navigate systems and find employment. So that was hugely beneficial. But I snagged really a truly like my sort of what's the word, my lifeline to this work by getting placed through the PMF program to the US Department of Labor's Women's Bureau. So I was a program analyst for 2.5 years. Based here in Kansas City. We work to help, community organizations, other local, state level governments, really, adapt policies or find policies and programs that would help working women succeed. We focused on not only women in non-traditional occupations like the construction industry, but we also worked on issues such as accessible childcare, gender-based violence and harassment in the world of work. So it was really, we worked on a lot of issues, but this is how I initially got, this is how I initially
Wow.
became connected with Heartland Women in Trades,
Yeah.
which has led to my current role with them. I just found a lot, I was very passionate about the work that they're doing, the tradeswomen movement in general, seeing how these, wonderful careers were literally changing women's lives.
Mhm.
And not only that, it was helping, seeing single moms who had been struggling now making, able to sustain themselves, sustain their families, get their own housing, seeing people who had, who had struggled with addiction, who are now clean, or maybe even have felonies, who have struggled to have gainful employment that was paying them a living wage, get into these jobs and just totally transform their lives. It just made me really passionate about helping women into these roles, into these careers, and give them a better chance at life. So
Yes.
yeah, that's
Oh my
not a
gosh.
short summary, but that's kind
Wow.
of my
I'm
journey.
impressed. Yeah, that's well, and I just think it's so fun. It is a curvy road, but how all of those things I'm sure have added to your wisdom, and all the things that you bring then to this role. Yeah, it is interesting how it all transpires and you get where you're going. One of my favorite things is like I'm not sure how I got here, but it's right where I'm supposed to be.
Yes, that's exactly
You
how I
know?
feel. And, and for me, I'm actually the first staff member for Heartland Women in Trades. We just recently got a grant right before I started that was allowing them to hire somebody to really push this work. I mean, before this, it was completely volunteer run and led. So it's just like that. I feel like having all these kind of random life experiences has made me
Yes.
especially equipped for this role. Having the policy piece,
Yeah.
having the nonprofit, fundraising development work that I was engaged with, also the grassroots organizing. Yeah, it's all kind of,
Uh,
I'm like, okay, this is why I did a bunch of random things.
yeah, exactly. For this. Yes.
I pull from all these different experiences. So
Uh-huh.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
exactly where I'm supposed to be,
Uh,
and I'm so happy to be in this
well,
position.
and I'm so grateful that Heartland recognized that it needed somebody, to champion it because we all know, I mean, we can have great intentions, but when you're led by volunteers, it's just hard. It's a lot of hard work. And I think it's timely too, which speaks volumes to, your board and the people advising, because this is needed now more than ever, the work that you all are doing. Yeah. And I love what you said too about just how you saw the trades being an opportunity for women to lift them up so that they can, you know,
Yeah.
be self-sustaining. Because I think that there's probably a lot of women who just don't even think about it, right? It doesn't even cross their mind that that could be a profession that they would enjoy and they could make a good living. And,
Mhm.
it's, I love that because, um, we know that's what we want women to be and families to find the thing they
Yeah.
enjoy, but also to be able to support their family in meaningful ways.
Exactly. And again, it's that stigma that has chased women, in these roles. But what people don't think of is, I mean, when you work in the skilled trades, people might think of, oh, this is dirty hard work, but it's so much more than that. I mean, yes, there's hard work. Yes, you're going to be working outside, but there's opportunities to be creative, to problem
Yeah.
solve, to really, I mean, there's so many technical skills that you learn, to be able to
Oh my,
work on your own home eventually.
oh
And
my goodness,
also
yes.
the skills are highly forgiving. I mean, they're very diverse in the backgrounds in which people come to them. Like I said, there's people, even in our membership who have spent years in jail, have felony charges. There's women who worked 20 years as in low wage roles. You don't have to have a ton of experience to get in the door, because you're going to learn everything you need to know once you get there, and people
Right.
are going to be there to support you and help you to succeed.
Yeah, yeah, that's so awesome. I was curious as you were talking about that. I'm wondering if, well, one, I thought of two things. One is I love when I see those commercials on TV. Total side note. And there's like these women going in HVAC, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're trying to highlight again, normalize like it's not just a man's profession. So different people in this area, I've noticed that, and I'm like, that's so good because yeah, it again, it starts to make it seem more normal and more natural to think of that. But I was wondering, I wonder if there is like, in graduate school, I took a class on career counseling, and there's all these assessments, but it would be interesting if there's an assessment that women could take to see which trade they is the best fit for them. Have you heard of anything like that?
Yeah, so there is actually. So NAB2, or excuse me, Trades Futures, which is actually the nonprofit arm of the North America Building Trades Union, NAB2. So they actually have a curriculum for apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs called the MC3 program. Here locally, we have a facilitator. I think we have a couple, but the one closely with is Missouri Works Initiative.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, part of that curriculum is they do with their grad, or with those, like, and I guess I'll start over with the Missouri Works Initiative is an apprentice ready program where basically people from the community, regardless of your background, can join. It's about, I think, a 5 or 6 week program where they just give you a rundown of all the skilled trades. They work with the building and construction trades unions, and they really give you a deep dive in what each of these careers look like. You get a stipend as well as, several different benefits once you graduate. But part of that, and part of the MC3 program from Trades Futures that they actually implement in their program, is that there is sort of this like assessment that you
Mhm.
take that kind of tells you what roles you would be best suited for.
Yeah.
So yeah, so something like that does exist. I
Okay.
don't know on a like broader scale the availability of that, but I do know it's part of this MC3 program, which over 200 apprentice ready pre-apprenticeship providers across the country utilize. So it's
That's
out
so
there for
great.
sure.
Yeah. Well, and I figured so. I mean, it would only make
Yeah.
sense. I'm not that creative. But I love that because, sometimes it's like meshing up my strengths and what I gravitate to, and what trade does that align with? And I love that exposure of just the Missouri, yeah, Works Initiative. I think, is that John Gall? Is he a part of
Yes,
that?
yes.
Yes.
That's
I've
how we
interviewed
connected.
him.
Yes.
Oh,
And
that's right.
yeah,
That's right. He is the one that introduced that.
yes. So
Yeah.
I always forget because Missouri Works Initiative, they work through several different cities throughout Missouri. So Kansas City, that's the one that we work with that cohort here because that's where we're based out of. But they also have St. Louis and a few other locations in Missouri
Yeah.
too. So and Dr. Gall is out of St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah. Well, and I when I interviewed him, I don't think he talked about that kind of that assessment. We just didn't dive into that space. So I love to know that. So great. And it's also, as I meet young people, and oftentimes young people are male and female. I don't know what I want to do, and so that might be a great place to explore if the trades are something that might be a good fit, and if so, which one. So yeah, I always
And
love
I
things
will
to refer people to.
Yeah, and I will say, sorry, I also know we also work with an organization here in Kansas City called the National Institute for Construction Excellence, and they specifically work with youth, of all ages, K through 12, to help them learn more about roles in the construction industry. So I don't know, I don't believe they use that assessment, but they do have some wonderful summer camp programs where if you are in high school looking
Nice.
to learn more about different careers in the construction industry, that you
Yeah.
can join. And also NAWIC, so that's the National Association for Women in Construction, they also have a summer camp specifically geared towards women that
Nice.
also goes through not only the skilled trades, but also other jobs in the construction sector as well. So just wanted to
Gotcha.
throw that
Oh,
out
that's
there.
awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. Lots of resources to tap into for young
But
people to explore that. Probably, it sounds like there's things for other people too. That you don't have to be youth
yeah,
to be able to explore if that's a good fit for you. So yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah,
we know that representation is so important, especially when you're young. Like, actually, not only meeting people in these roles, but for young women, seeing other women doing these jobs is super important for, being able to see
absolutely.
themselves in these roles potentially. So, and that's something else that we do as Heartland Women is going to career fairs and things like that to try to provide that representation as
Yeah.
well. But
Well, because I feel like oftentimes when I talk to people in this industry, it's a generational thing, right?
yes,
Job. My dad did it, I did it, my son's going in because that's just what they're exposed to. That's what's comfortable, they're familiar. So you're right, especially as women, if there hasn't been anybody in your family who has done, trade work, that might yeah, not be quite as comfortable to explore. So yeah. Well, let me see what else were we gonna ask. I love this conversation though. It's so fun.
me too.
Let's see. Some of these we've answered. Oh, what about we were gonna talk a little bit about the number of women entering the trades, but also supporting retention and long-term success. I mean, certainly you've kind of addressed that in the resources that you're providing in your association. Is there anything else that you're seeing? And certainly it looks like you're creating a beautifully robust platform to be able to hopefully keep women. But was there anything else that you know of, or just even in general, yeah, that can help women stay in the trades and continue to be successful?
Yeah. So we've also seen, I mean, a number of, again, that building that community, I think, and I'm going to go outside of just things that we've seen out there with our affiliate organizations. I mean, we've been doing some of this too, but also what we've been working with some of our union leaders are, again, the contractors, employers piece, building their own coalition. So we offer that through HWIP, but also having like your own corporate or union specific women's caucus or women's group to have even more of that sort of networking, mentorship, community building aspect. Again, I can't stress enough how important that has been and really making a
Mm,
difference for retention of women in these roles,
yeah.
which is again like hugely important. I mean, we can recruit all day to get women interested, but if we're not addressing the core issues of like why women are leaving,
Right.
then we're not gonna really make progress. So some of those also employer-led initiatives. I will give a shout out to Turner Construction.
Mm,
They are one of the industry leaders in a no tolerance policy for harassment and bullying, and
mm,
it works. It works. I can't stress enough the importance of having robust HR policies, but then actually putting the teeth behind those policies.
mm,
Um, every woman I've talked to who has had the pleasure, or even if they haven't been on a Turner construction site, um, but they've heard, I mean, they know that they are serious about what they say, and that if you are, being disrespectful in the workplace, if you are harassing or bullying or intimidating someone, they're going to kick you off the job site.
wow.
They also, a lot of other just things that you don't think of that would be an issue in this, just in the workplace in general, but we hear a lot about is issues with bathrooms and women not having access to clean bathrooms. Turner Construction, they have moved away from the porta potties. They actually have like bathroom trailers, and they have both men and women's facilities.
Nice.
Which I sorry guys, you're kind of gross from the stories that I heard. So having women's bathrooms that are staying clean, that
Yeah.
has also, I mean, again, it's just like being comfortable at
Yeah.
work, or if you, and also having, for women who are, pregnant or about to, or have recently been postpartum, having access to also clean private lactation rooms,
Hmm.
that as well. So just some of those employer-led policies that are really helping to create a better work environment. I mean, I can't stress that that's hugely important and part of the larger picture of all of this. Um, and then again, also just shifting culture, shifting narratives, building up other, I mean, of course, other women, but mostly men on the job sites to be true allies in
Mm,
this work,
yeah.
and to sort of, to step in again, like we've talked about, like this bystander training when things happen, or just even, even taking on a mentorship and being, allowing women to be themselves,
Yeah.
um, just again is also hugely important too. So, and there's been a lot of work, like we've talked about the training piece and the awareness campaigns that we've been doing to try to get
Mm,
more male allies on these job sites. But, and I
yeah.
don't really know, I mean, there's no one specific solution or system that's going to make that happen, but I think just the more we're having these conversations and spreading the
Right.
word like we're doing here,
Right.
the more we make men cognizant of how the women on their job sites may be feeling or being treated, and the more that they have, hopefully they have the initiative to, you know to change their behavior or go out of their way to making sure they feel welcome and supported,
Right.
and that makes a huge difference as well.
Right. Well, and it all boils down to awareness.
Absolutely.
I think that as human beings, when we're aware, then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
who knew? I never thought about bathrooms, right? I never thought about somebody coming back and needing to nurse because they had a baby. Oh, yeah, that is a problem. Like, where are they going to go? Right? I mean, it's kind of like you just, unless somebody helps you build that awareness. And then I can't imagine, I would hope that most men would be open to recognizing the importance of all of those things. Yeah. And what you're talking about is not like, what's interesting, it's not like, it's not going to take billions of dollars. It's really the investment of education and small shifts. Like you said, the policy is one thing, but then implementing it, right? Which requires that top down approach, which we
Well,
say over and over and over. Um, so
I would
important.
even say it saves you money. Like, I would even say it saves. I mean, think about the investment that our unions, our contractors, all these people are putting into getting people into these jobs. And then, when you have someone leave, like, I know it's tens of thousands of dollars minimum,
Right.
that I've heard. But then when you have people leave because they're having a poor experience on the job site, you're losing out. I mean, you're just going to be doing the cycle all over again. So just
Right.
having these very simple HR policies, trainings, things like that that help people to stay. Again, down the road, it's going to
Right.
pay off in dividends. And also, too, I mean, we also know something we say a lot and that we know through the research we've done is that what benefits women really benefits everybody. I mean, we're not even talking about just women's issues here. We're just talking about the things that help women improve the workplace for everybody. I mean, getting better bathroom conditions, getting, you know, not having a sort of some sort of fraternity initiation ritual when you're the new kid on the block. I mean, I have no
Right.
idea, but
Yeah.
it's also preventing some of those things as well that men experience too. So
Absolutely. Yes, because they aren't alone in
yeah,
experiencing some of those things. Yes. And I have heard that the young guys that can happen, and some of that older generation is just what's always been done until it isn't, until they realize that that's, needs to change. So yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I love that. And kudos to Turner Construction. I love to hear and to shout out to organizations that can be spotlighted on, what they're doing, because we need trailblazers, setting the tone and leading by example of how you shift that culture. And you're right. Retention is the figure that I've heard is like it cost a business 30,000.
Yeah.
By the
I
time
think
you promote the job, you train them, you onboard them, the whole thing, right? It's very costly. So, yeah, so it does benefit, but it does take intention and effort, and to be that proactive approach, which is just what we're all trying to shift a little bit. So,
yeah.
yes, I love that, and getting men on board, to be allies, because I think anytime, um, that's we have a tendency to, if somebody's modeling that for us, then it helps us then to adopt that, right? If they're modeling the other, then there's going to be a tendency to, that's what's going to kind of ripple out, into the job
Absolutely.
sites. So yeah, such an important
And
piece.
one thing I forgot to mention too, that I think it's been going on for a few years now, but something that we have also been thinking a lot about and are hoping to engage our board members and also some of our members in is the idea of being mental health. Is it first aid certified? Or I'm not sure
Sure.
exactly the terminology. You've
Yeah.
probably heard of it, Robin.
Yes. Yes.
But it's the idea of knowing not only like being cognizant of your own mental health, but sharing research, but knowing how to respond to somebody who is in
Yes.
crisis
Yeah.
with their mental health.
Hmm.
Especially again going back to some of the things that have happened recently in our community.
Yeah.
I think it's just as important too. In addition to talking about it, in addition to just knowing what the resources out there, it's knowing how to respond to it as well.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
just wanted to
And
highlight.
we do that. So we'll have to talk later about that.
Yeah,
So
I would love to talk to you about that because
yeah.
it's something that we're thinking a lot more about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And it is an important piece, right? It's yeah, it's being equipped with that verbiage and that comfort level of knowing how to reach out to people when we notice some
mhm.
red flags. What are red flags? Again, how do we just be present and comfortable,
Yeah,
just being kind and supportive of that somebody might be showing some signs of something's a little off, and maybe they need some resources, and maybe they just need a listening ear.
for sure.
I mean, we all feel, it makes us feel good to feel valued and heard and seen. And so that can go a long way. So yeah, we'll have to have a conversation about that, but
Yes.
at a later date. But okay, so as we kind of wrap up our conversation, which I've loved, what if somebody's listening today and they know someone, or maybe they're in the construction industry, I don't know, maybe they know some young women, what would be, well, let's just say if they're in the construction industry, what would be one thing that they could do to take one baby step toward, um, supporting women, on the job sites, or encouraging? What would you recommend?
I mean, it is truly from what I mean, I'm just basing this off of experience of, of course, having tons of conversations with tradeswomen. Just let the women on your job site, or even not even just women, just, other people, people of underrepresented underrepresented communities, people, just let them know, like, hey, I've got you. I am here for you. If you need anything, if you have questions, if you need an ally,
Nice.
please
That's
feel comfortable reaching out to me. I mean, I can't tell you, just knowing that someone is there for you and has your back, how much relief that can
yeah.
provide, as someone just on the job site and even outside of the construction industry, just
Yeah.
making your allyship known.
Yeah. Well,
So
and
yeah,
that's simple. That's simple.
so simple. It
Like,
costs nothing.
yes. And it sounds like if that's what your women are saying would be helpful, like what a great place to start.
Yes, absolutely.
And even just being curious, how are you doing? What are you finding on the job sites? Are things going, but like honest, like real conversation, not just like the standard, oh, fine. You know what I mean? But that builds, you have to build trust for that and those kinds of things. But I think it even starts with what you just said, checking
And
in.
I'll even add on to that too. If you are a leader, if you're a foreman, a supervisor, or someone else who's, listening to this, in addition to that, I would also create spaces to specifically engage with your tradeswomen on the job too. Again, kind of we mentioned at the beginning of this conversation of, a lot of women don't feel comfortable or don't feel like they have the opportunity to have that one-on-one FaceTime a lot with their supervisors. They're not asking to go out for drinks after work or what have you. So in addition to that, I would just say taking a little bit of time out of your week or however often you can to check in, give them that opportunity to, share their feedback or their issues. I mean,
Yeah,
it's all kind of the same things we've been talking about, but just even more so important to when you are a supervisor or a leader on the job site.
absolutely. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. Okay, so and I always like to wrap up with, I mean, Jenna, you're, executive of this organization. You've got a lot going on. What do you do for your own self-care? Because I always say we have to be modeling what we want others to embrace and embody. So how do you help yourself manage stress, anxiety, overwhelm, all the things? What's your go-to right
Yeah.
now?
So I guess I'll say I can't stress enough how great therapy has been.
Good.
I go
Absolutely.
every 2 weeks. I mean, and I'm not in crisis or going through any particular. I mean, we all have the regular stress, or but
Yeah.
I just think having, I've been going to therapy regularly for years, and I can't tell you how much just having that
Ah,
space, having
yeah.
the tools. I'm just gonna plug
Good
that.
for you.
Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to go to therapy because it really can be life changing. But outside of that,
Yeah.
I do find a lot of just like I try to find a lot of pleasure in just sort of the simple things. I try to make sure I always have time to do the things that I enjoy.
Mm.
We talked about like baking. I always try to like save new recipes, and when I get a chance, bake something good. I love food. And just really diving into the crafts that I enjoy,
Ah,
sewing. I've
good.
been trying knitting, so just making time for that. I
Yeah.
also practice a lot of breathing exercises, like especially in stressful moments.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to, like, before I react to things, if I have the opportunity to just like take a step back, do I don't know if it's called like the 4-point breathing or what it's exactly called, but
Yeah.
really like try to calm my nervous system down in those
Yeah.
moments.
Good.
And
Good.
yeah, just leaning on friends and family to talk things out also,
Yeah. Oh
is
my
helpful.
goodness. Wow. Awesome. I love that. I love your, promoting a therapist because that's a great person. And they teach you those skills like breathing
Yes.
in the moment, right? But
I
also taking time to do the things you enjoy because life can get so busy and so full. And I always feel like I'm trying to encourage people, the world will not stop if you say no to a couple of those things so you can, and it doesn't mean it's not selfish, that's the misconception, but we all need to find time to do things that bring us joy. Yeah.
Yeah, and schedule it. I mean, I sometimes do that if it's a busy
Yes.
week. Like literally put it on your calendar. Be like, I'm gonna spend 30 minutes or an hour doing this for
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah.
Or for me too, like on busy weeks, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give myself 30 minutes before bed to read it, to like read my book or something.
Yeah.
If you find yourself not finding time to like just put it on a calendar.
There you go.
I have to do
Schedule
that.
it in.
So
Absolutely. I love that. Well, Jenny, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
yeah. So you can reach me. First off, feel free to shoot me an email. My email address is j.johnson, so JOHNSON at hwitkc.org. So you can shoot me an email. You can also, our website, which is heartlandwomenandtrades.org. We have a contact form on there as well as our office phone. So you can feel free to go to our website. I'm the one answering the phone and the email, so feel free to try that as well.
Okay. Well, good. Well, because I want to encourage people if they want to talk to Jenna more, learn more about, whether it's ways they can be supportive or just more about the women's in trade, the Heartland group. Yeah, I love that. So thank you so much for being here again. It's just
Thank you
been
for
such a
having me.
great conversation. I love the work that you all are doing, and it's great for me to know too, so that I can be your champion out in the world and just highlight to others, but also just for my own knowledge of just my own building my own awareness of the work you're doing and the challenges that women face, and all of that. So thank you so much.
No,
So
and thank you, Robin.
we are here, as you know, this podcast is here to inspire and empower your journey toward a mindful life. So, of course, like, comment, subscribe, share. You're always welcome to contact me at Robin at mindful-momentum.com or at our website as well, mindful-momentum.com. But that's it for today. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.